Hi, welcome to episode 470 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. And I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea where I sell my handspun yarn and knitting patterns. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, April 15th, tax day here in the United States. And I decided, even though I had said I probably wouldn't podcast, that I've been doing just an itty bitty bit of crafty things. And so I wanted to come and say hi and show you what I have been doing. So the very first thing that you might notice is the photo on the opening slide for the video. And that is a picture of my Halloween quilt. And while I finished the Halloween quilt a while ago, I didn't have a great way to take a good photo of it. And we just hung it up on the wall this weekend. So it's actually on the wall next to my computer right here. And I can look at it all day, which is wonderful. And so you can see that it's hanging there. And I explained that project quite a bit. I will go ahead and put the details in the show notes. I mashed up 2 patterns from Missouri Star, and then I used a fat quarter bundle from Maywood Studios. And actually free motion quilted that one myself, and I'm really proud of it, even though I messed up the block at the bottom. I have one block that should be flipped 90 degrees, but it's not too noticeable. I mean, it is, but it's not. And so it is up and I'm enjoying it, and I'm getting ready to work on some other quilts. I'm going to make a few more so that I can rotate them seasonally. And then I found that great wooden hanger at the top from an Amish store and ordered it. They come in all different lengths. I ordered mine in 36 inches and it's hung on the wall and it's perfect. So, hi, how are you? I hope that you are doing well. Let's start with a few things. First of all, if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is not a standard episode, and I will explain why in just a little bit. And if you are a returning viewer, thanks for coming back. Last week, I had let you know that I wasn't sure if I was going to put out an episode this week. Normally, my podcast episodes contain knitting and spinning, and then occasionally some sewing or other things. They contain tea, which I will do today. But things here in the Corner of Knit and Tea household have been a little catch as catch can, because last week I was diagnosed with tendonitis, and so I have not knit a stitch in well over a week, which is kind of crazy for me. But my arm actually is feeling a lot better, so it's working. I went to the physical therapist twice last week for heat and massages. I'm doing that again this week, and then we're going to figure out kind of what's next in terms of exercises. I've been doing some posture exercises and trying to pay better attention to how I'm sitting and crafting, and I will get to that, and sort of some of the things that I'm doing, and then I have been wearing a brace at night. So I wasn't going to come back today, but I actually found a little bit of crafting, and I have a few fun stories and some things to show you. So I thought I would just make it a real quick podcast. So today I am drinking David's breakfast tea. This is just a plain black tea, breakfast tea, a little bit of caffeine, and I am drinking it today in my Skills mug, which is a Carl Mountford illustration that I got from Society 6, and it is Batman knitting, and I absolutely love it. And there are a few others. There's one with, I think Spider-Man or Superman knitting. There are a few others that are part of this collection, and I don't know if they're available on Society 6 right now, but that is what I'm drinking and what I'm drinking it from. So at the beginning of last week, I was really kind of despondent over not being able to craft, because of course that is what I love. And so partway through the week, I remembered that I had this kit, and it's an embroidery kit. And I was like, I wonder if I could do a little bit of embroidery without triggering my arm. And the bottom line is, yes, I can. So I was very excited. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. And I want to show you a few things and then tell you a fun story. So, the first things first, the kit that I have is a kit from M Creative J. and she does kind of modern embroidery kits. She calls it Botanical Fiber Art, and this is a stained glass landscape embroidery pattern. So this is M Creative J, and this is the kit that I bought, and it comes with pretty much everything you need. It's got the hoop, it's got the linen, it's got all of the colors of floss, it came with a needle, it came with this thick packet of instructions, which is how to do the stitches and what stitches to do in each section and what color to put where. And it came with some felt for the back and a little bit of a sawtooth hanger for the back. And it even came with a needle. So really the only thing I needed was I needed to provide my own scissors, and then if I wanted to put the floss on bobbins, I needed to provide those. But excuse me, it's everything I need. I have done a kit previously from M Creative J, and it had everything in it as well, and I really like her kits. They come with really easy to follow instructions, and like everything you need. And when you're starting a new hobby, you don't know what you need. You don't want to go out and buy a little bit of everything. I mean, all the colors of embroidery floss are a little daunting, so I am enjoying the pace of the kits. So I took this out. What I needed to do was I needed to trace the pattern. So it came with a circle. It's in a, I think, 7-inch hoop. And it came with the circle, which is the pattern itself. And so I had to place this behind my linen and trace through it. You can do that with a light box or a window, or the linen that I used was light enough that it wasn't a big deal. I could see those lines through. And so what I did is I took a Pilot friction marker, which came in the kit. Like I said, almost everything is in the kit. It's a Pilot friction marker. Let's see, is that the correct? Nope, it's this way. A Pilot friction marker. And that came in the kit, and I went ahead and drew on my linen to demarcate the sections that I was gonna do embroidery stitches in. And then I started, and what I have discovered is that I can do one small bit of the embroidery each evening without adverse effects to my arm. So this is where I am. And by the end of the weekend, I was through that. So I am maybe a third of the way through. I am really enjoying this. I'm learning lots of different stitches. This is a reverse chain stitch. This one is a back stitch. These are long and short satin stitches. And then on the, what I thought might be the sun, but I don't even know if that's really what it is because there's another orb up here. So I just don't know. I did a couching stitch, and I did the couching a little bit differently than she suggested in the kit, but you can see those are all the, hopefully that won't get too blurry. You can see it's slightly different stitches and slightly different colors. So I am enjoying this. My guess is I'll probably be much closer to done next week because I'm just counting all the little sections. Like I said, I'm doing one little section a night, which is giving me about an hour's worth of work. Excuse me. And it is just really nice to be able to do something a little crafty. And in the evenings when we watch TV, I get a little antsy and fidgety without anything to do with my hands. And so, like I said, I've just been doing one small section a day. And even though I want to do more, I'm really holding back because I do want my arm and my wrist to heal. I think the reason that this is actually working as well as it is because when you're holding the needle, the embroidery needle, you're not twisting your wrist in all kinds of different, you're kind of putting it through and keeping your wrist in a neutral position, and I think that's what's helping me. So so that is what I discovered I could do this week. So of course I was like, what am I going to do when it's done? Am I going to be able to knit when it's done? What do I want to do? So I started looking at embroidery kits, and you know, there's a downfall because there are a million embroidery kits out there, and I put a whole bunch of kits in my Etsy cart, and then I closed the window. And then I stopped and thought about the fact that I signed up for an Advent box this past year for Missouri Star Quilt Co., which is where I work. And there were projects in the box, all kinds of projects, sewing projects, and I ended up knitting those trees even though they were supposed to be done with fabric. For those of you who've been watching for a little while, I knit around those styrofoam trees. And one of the other projects in the box, I was sure was some needlework. And I had just put it aside because I didn't think I had any interest in doing it. And of course, now I can do a little bit of needlework, so I pulled it out. So the next project that I'm going to work on, and I'm sorry for the crunching, but the next project that I'm going to work on are these Swedish felt birds, and they could be ornaments or they just could be, you know, red and white birds, and they come with the felt in the kit, and then I've got the two, the red and white colors, and then I've got the pattern, and the really cool thing is, and I don't know, yeah, you can see this, the felt has already been perforated where the pieces need to be pulled out, so I don't even have to cut them. All I have to do is pop them out, and then I can start following the patterns of all the little felt bits and all the little embroidered bits. So I am, it's not really my style, but I am excited because I have another kit at home that I could do, something that I can do with my wrist the way it is, and so that's going to be my next little project, and I don't know if I'll have started it by next week, but that is a little something that I can make and share with you. And actually, my mother-in-law really loves traditional Christmas decorations, so if I don't keep these for my own tree, I was thinking I might actually just go ahead and give them to her for the holidays. And so it's just a little bit of, it looks like some French knots and some running stitch and a few little bits of loop stitch, and like I said, just another project in my arsenal to keep me busy. So the final bit about this that I wanted to talk about was something fun that happened on Saturday, and for those of you that watch my Instagram feed, you probably already know about it because I posted about it because it was kind of fun. So I had embroidery floss and some cross stitch stuff from years ago, like back when I was crafting with my grandmother. And probably, oh gosh, I don't even know, like 8 to 10 years ago, I had a whole box of floss, and then I had a bag of silk threads from either China or Japan. My grandmother traveled the world when she was in her early 60s and brought home tons of, and she went to both China and Japan, so it could have been either, and to be honest, I don't quite remember. And several years ago, a friend of mine in my knit group got super into embroidery and stitching, and she had just started. And I said, do you want my box of floss and my bag of like these Chinese silks? I haven't done anything with them in years. They've always sat in my stash, and I haven't done anything with them, so I'd rather they go to a good home. And I gave it to her, and I never thought about it again until last week when I was like, oh, I'm kind of enjoying this embroidery thing, and if I buy more kits, I'm going to get more stuff. And eventually I might want to do my own thing with embroidery, and so I should really think about getting a floss box and getting some bobbins so I can wind my current floss around it and add to it over time. And so I went to look at Missouri Star, and they were sold out of the floss boxes. So what I did is I went ahead and put an order in on Amazon because I was like, no, I want this. And so it was due to arrive on Saturday afternoon. And Saturday morning, I went for coffee with my knitting friend Anna. We go out roughly once a month for coffee and knitting on a Saturday morning. And when I got there, she said, I have a little present for you. And I was like, okay. And she said, no, don't get too excited. I have no idea where it came from. I have no idea what's in it, but I found it and it's yours now. And she brought out a box of embroidery floss. So she said it's not hers because she actually also brought out a Ziploc bag full of all of her embroidery threads, and she said, the box is organized, all the little bobbins are wound, and all the numbers of the DMC floss are marked on the bobbins. So you can see like all the numbers are written in the corner, and she's like, and it's organized, and she's like, and I am not that organized. So this is not my box of embroidery floss. She was like, I don't know whether I got it at a yard sale, or she used to do these craft swaps where everybody would bring all their stuff and they would try and they would swap for things. So somebody would be like, I don't want this anymore. And somebody would be like, hey, do you have one of these? And so they do these swaps. And she said it might have been left over from one of those swaps. So she doesn't know what it's from, but she had it. And she was like, you're getting into this. It's yours now. So now I have a box filled with the start of embroidery floss. And of course, I'm adding my other ones to it. She handed me 2 containers of extra bobbins. She gave me some beeswax, which I know is for certain threads. It's not specifically for embroidery, for waxing DMC floss, but it is if you're using like linen thread, sometimes you want to wax it so it will go through the canvas easier. And she gave me a few other little tidbits. There were some sewing bobbins in there, and I was like, do you want these back? And she said no. And so I have my own box of floss now. And I kind of had this thought, because I was like, you know, this is really interesting. Like, they say, I mean, and this is kind of silly, and I don't know for sure whether I believe this, but they say kind of what you put out into the universe is what you get back. And I think it's funny that I put out a box of embroidery floss into the universe and gave it to someone who I thought would give it a good home. And years later, when I found myself interested in something, and I won't say I regretted giving her the box, because I have never really regretted it, but I thought about, oh yeah, that's funny that I gave that away, and then now I've come back to it, and then one materialized in front of me, like, just when I needed it. So, I was joking that it was the sisterhood of the traveling embroidery floss, like the sisterhood of the traveling pants. Anyway, so that's kind of been my embroidery week. I did come to two conclusions, sort of all of this stuff in the past week. And the first is, I wanted to let you know that I broke down and I ordered another embroidery kit. So I have the current one, I have my next one, and I have another one on the way. And I'm excited about that. And I do think that potentially embroidery is going to be something that will be here to stay. I'm hoping to maybe work it into the other things I'm doing. So we'll just have to see, but kind of funny. And then the other thing is, I came up with a goal for myself. So when my husband came into this room yesterday to help me hang up the quilt, I had to move a whole bunch of crap out of the way. So you see behind me, I have a very large bookcase. I actually have another large bookcase over at the other side of the room. And I have bins. And a lot of them are, they were bins from IKEA or Home Depot, and they are like the cardboard bins that you can like expand and contract. So they're like square bins. You can see there's one like right there, the gray one. They can expand so that they can hold stuff, and then once you empty it of stuff, they will fold down and you can fold them out of the way and put them in the closet. I have several of those all over the floor in this room, and they're really starting to annoy me. So I decided that my goal for the year, and this is like through the end of 2024, is to use up enough of whatever I've got, fabric, fiber, yarn, whatever, so that I can place everything on the bookshelves in this room so that the floor is clear. The only thing that I think will remain is my spinning wheels on the floor back here, and I don't expect to have room for that on the bookcase, and it's also too tall for the bookcase, so that's not going to be a thing. But my goal is to clean and use up and not replace supplies enough so that by the end of the year everything can be on the bookcases, on shelves, and I think I will feel that it is a much more manageable lift. Now, I do think that this goal is a little silly because I'm right in the middle of a time when I can't craft, but my hope is, well, when I can only do a very specific craft, and so my plan is to try and work the other crafts back in and really, really, really try and work on getting things out of my stash this year and not buying new things. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to buy anything, but my plan is really to try and use up a lot of the fabric I have, a lot of the fiber that I have, some of the yarn that I have, so that I can get all of these bins on this shelf behind me. So I think that's my goal for the year, and I think that's what I'm going to be up to in the next couple weeks. And I know that this episode was kind of short, but I think that's where I'm going to leave you today. So I'm feeling more positive because I was able to find some crafts. I had some fun crafty things happen this week, and I am hoping that my wrist will be healing in the weeks ahead, and then I will be able to take up my knitting and quilting again. And just to tie up a few other loose ends, I was supposed to do a couple quilts to donate this month, and I'm not going to be able to finish them this month because, at least right now, I can't free motion quilt. That's just too much pressure on my wrist and arm to push the quilt through the machine and to kind of manhandle the bulk of it. But I actually found an alternate organization, and the sizes that I'm making will work for that organization. So I have that kind of taken care of, and I will finish those quilts and get those out when I am able. I have a few ideas for some scrap yarn projects to use up more scraps in my stash because I have a big bin behind me that's full of leftovers. And if I could move that out, I could put one of the bins that's elsewhere on my floor in there. And I also have a sweater or blanket quantity of yarn that I bought a while ago and decided I wanted to turn it into something to donate. And so I would like to really move that out. And that is like 6 or 8 skeins of yarn. And so that would free up a lot of space elsewhere. So that's kind of my goal for the next little bit. And I don't know for sure whether I'll join you again next week. I probably will, to show you a little bit of embroidery progress. Like I said, not a typical podcast, but I hope that you are doing well. And until I see you next time, I'll say happy knitting, happy spinning, happy embroidering, happy quilting, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.